What do you guys think? Yep, I did this myself. I cut my hair myself for the first time and I'm so proud of myself. I even somehow managed to get layers in here. Honestly, no idea how, but okay. And then Tom helped me with the dye because I couldn't get all of the bits and bobs. And then he decided to use whatever was left to then dye his own hair the same colour. So they say that if you spend too much time hanging around your partner, you end up looking alike. Well, we're not really doing much to prove that theory wrong, but who cares? Quarantine hair all the way. Welcome to another Book of the Month segment for May. And today's book we are looking at Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, a duo that just makes so much sense, doesn't it? Okay, so as I've mentioned before, I have seen the TV series first. I was originally when I saw that it was being made into a TV series, I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing that's been on my reading list for a very long time. I need to get round to it. And then just never did, for some reason. No idea why, but okay. And then I started getting spoilers for the TV show and I was like, oh, okay. So we binged it and I fell in love with it instantly. Made me want to read the book even more. Life got in the way so I didn't, and then quarantine came round and here we are now. Honestly, I regret not reading the book first because I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It is so much fun. It is so random. The way that it interprets heaven and hell, angels and demons, it's just so quirky, and anything that's quirky but not quirky to a fault, I love. Narrative-wise, it didn't make as much sense as the TV series did, but then I'm more of a visual person. Even when I'm reading, if the words are forming a pretty enough picture, I will pick up on it more rather than the bare minimum of, for example, if you describe a living room, you kind of need to give me colours and layout for me to really be drawn in, rather than just being like, they walked into the living room. That kind of thing. This goes a little bit skew-if here and there, and it's kind of harder to keep track. Like when they describe something, they describe it in such odd ways. Like when they're describing a child's face, someone else is described as having freckles, and then her face is described as being one giant freckle. And I'm like, excuse me, what? But that is their charm. That is Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman's quirkiness combined. So it's not really a fault, it's just something that I didn't always really grasp. How is it that even when I cut my own hair, I am still getting the skew-if fringe that just wants to do its own thing? Loving it! Yeah, characters, I mean, Crowley and Aziraphale, how are they just not everyone's OTP at this point? I mean, there were hints of it in the show. It is not heavily implied, but it is laid on so much thicker here, and I freaking love him. Anathema device? Anathema device? Anathema device? Give me a minute. Anathema device. Anathema device. Anyway, Ms. Device. God, I love this woman. That is something that is just really prominent in this book, is characters are just so well done. They feel real. Their reactions to the situations they're in, you can imagine what you would do, and you're a bit like, you know, their reactions are a bit odd, but then they come from odd setups. Ms. Device is, you know, brought into this world of witchcraft from a very early age. Crowley and Aziraphale are demons. No one is ever really normal, therefore their reactions are not going to be normal, which is probably why you want to relate to them but can't, but you're drawn in anyway because you're fascinated by them. And it's so strange because normally you want characters that you can relate to because you see yourself in them, you want to get drawn in, you just want to be part of them in some way. Here, it's very difficult to do that because they're in situations and they are beings that you can't fully comprehend. But that just draws you in even more because you've got the morbid curiosity, and that is something that these two manage really well, and that is morbid curiosity. I mean, looking at their previous works, whether it's Pratchett's interpretation of death, which is just hilarious, absolutely hilarious, or Neil Gaiman's fascination with the macabre, but in a way that you don't often see. So this review is so scattered, but then the narrative is kind of scattered because you're following so many different people doing so many different things. Some of them aren't even relevant, but you're interested anyway, so I guess I'm feeding off that in some way. But yet the story itself seems to take a backseat because it kind of knows in advance that the characters are what you come to see. The actual plot itself is that an angel and a demon find out that Armageddon is on the way, that the Antichrist is about to be delivered into the human world, and when that child grows up, he will be the world's destruction. He will bring out Armageddon, Doomsday, whatever you want to call it. And on Aziraphale's side with the angels, he's like, well, it's not about stopping it, it's about winning. It's about winning the apocalypse. Whereas the demons are like, yeah, we also want to win the apocalypse, but in a different form. They're basically fighting the same battle side by side, they just think they're against each other, and Crowley and Aziraphale are like, we don't really agree with this. So they're teaming up to make the Antichrist as neutral a person as possible to avoid the unavoidable. But then this isn't a spoiler, by the way, this happens very early on, it's the whole premise of the book. They lose the Antichrist. It gets taken away somewhere and they don't know what's going on, they don't know the process, so it's a mess. It is a mess. But then you've got a witch and prophecies and a witch hunter and a very cute English town and so much more that I want to say, but it could go into spoiler territory. This book juggles a lot, and it's not always clear what direction it's going in, and you're never really sure who you're following until the scene's ended and then you've realised, oh, I was with this person the whole time, but looking at it from a different perspective. It's very jumbled. The narrative is not going to agree with everyone, and I feel bad saying that because this is such a cult classic. Everyone has heard about it in some right. Everyone has some kind of love for it, even if they haven't read it. And I can understand why. It manages to impact you in a way that you don't really realise until you've finished it, and then you're just kind of like, oh, okay. I see why this was so hyped up. I was saying, I am not slating the story whatsoever. It is fun, it is weird, it is quirky, and it's all the things that I love. It's random. The narrative just sticks to that a little bit too much sometimes, and it doesn't always make itself completely clear of what the scene's intention was. But the characters more than make up for that, because even if you don't really know what's going on, just the everyday conversations these people are having, they feel real. And yet they're talking about some insane stuff. The way it handles religion is very well done, because it's not preachy, it doesn't try to force anything down your throat or convert you to one side or the other. It just is. It is fully self-aware in the fact that it is what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything else, and it doesn't try to convince the reader of otherwise. It just is, and I love that. I love that it is just so self-aware to be there and not have to try and prove anything to you. Like I said, I regret watching the TV show first. However, I feel like I would have struggled reading it a bit more if it was the other way around. Simply because of the jumbled narrative, not because it's not enjoyable or anything like that. I fully love this. I love the bonds between the characters, especially Aziraphale and Crowley. I love how the kids are just so kid-like, but there is that level of strangeness about them, which is understandable because you know the situation and they don't. It's so British. It is so friggin' British, and in this over-the-top satire kind of way, but as someone who is British, I wasn't offended by any means necessary, but I was able to spot what they were making fun of and laugh because it's me. I don't think I've written, no, I haven't written a review of this book for my blog yet. I have written a review of the TV show, so I will definitely be doing this one as well at some point. No idea when. Yeah, overall, I really like this book. A little bit hard to read in some places, but it doesn't try to force religion down your throat. Likewise, it doesn't try to slate religion in any way. It just is. I love the interpretation of angels and demons. I love, I think anything, you know, one of the main stories that I'm writing at the moment are demon based, so hell yes. But yeah, all in all, I loved it. Amazing book, amazing characters, really fun story, and is just so self-aware. I definitely give it a read. It is worth it. And if you're not interested, at least watch the TV show, because that is also worth it, and just a little bit more consistent in what's going on. Only slightly. It is still very random. That is the end of that review. For now, I'm gonna go outside in our little, well, we don't really have a garden, but back of the house space, and enjoy the copious amounts of birthday cupcakes that my family sent to me, because, you know, they can't actually come and see me on my birthday. Hell of a birthday, by the way. It was Sunday the 17th. Yeah, so my birthday started off at 1 in the morning when Tom woke up with the worst headache he's ever experienced, worse than any migraine, random fevers here and there, shivering, scary stuff. Called the helpline, was told to take him to hospital. So I drove him there, where he was then taken off for testing. I waited 2 hours to then be told, oh, he's staying overnight for more testing. You can't see him, go home. I didn't want to, but I was kind of, you know, rocking a hard place at that point. So I tried to go home, only for my car battery to decide it wanted to die in the hospital car park there and then. So I had to call my dad at 5 a.m. in the morning, not knowing what the hell to do, and he booked me a taxi home, and then he, bless him, came down to pick me up. I had to sit in the car, like in the back of the car while he drove, not allowed to touch him. He brought gloves and I have my mask, so I can't even give my dad a hug on my birthday. But he drove me to the hospital, we picked up Tom, everything came back clear, so he's fine. It wasn't the virus. We don't know what it was. It must have been like a thunderclap migraine or something like that, or stress related, something like that. But he is completely okay, thank God. My car is fixed, it is back with me, everything is fine. But yeah, but then I did manage to have a few video chats with my mum's side of the family and my sisters, and so many cupcakes. So yeah, the last third of my birthday was fantastic, and Tom ordered apology pizza, which he did not need to apologise for anything, because no one can help when stuff like this going on. The world's going crazy. Got this one on a tangent. We're supposed to be doing a book of the month. But yeah, everyone is fine. We're all completely okay. We're all completely in the clear. It is all good. And it's definitely going to be a memorable birthday, even if it's not the best one I've had. And yeah, we had to cancel games night as well, but we're going to rearrange that for a different day. At least I got cupcakes and pizza. And, you know, most importantly, my husband is home safe and he's okay. He is okay. We're all okay. So yeah, I have no idea where that tangent came from. As I said, book of the month. I would definitely give this a read. It's a great escape. It is a great escape from all of this nonsense, just to give you a more fun kind of nonsense. Stay safe. I hope you guys are doing okay, and I will see you all in the next video. I'm hoping this stays. Goodbye, my scribblers.